Welcome back to another episode of The Inside. Very excited today. We're going to have an addition more around the visitor management side than the access control that we've done for the past couple of weeks. And I'm excited to have actually STOPware join us, who, for those of you that are not familiar with STOPware, you'll find out they've been around for a very long time in this industry from 1997 and have really pioneered it. So it's thought it would be very interesting to get perspective from someone who's been there and done that to where is still doing it, and sort of, as the market has completely just turned upside down, sort of get an idea from STOPware, sort of where we see the marketplace going. So happy to have Debbie and Phil join me. I'll have them introduce themselves and the company real quick, so instead of me doing it for them, and then we'll jump into getting a better feel of what STOPware is doing in the market and where it's going. So Debbie, if you don't mind, if you could kick it off, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having us, Lee. My name is Debbie Pendleton. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at STOPware. Been with the company a long time, and involved originally as a consultant doing marketing, and worked my way up to COO, and have been running the business now for the last 5 years. As you said, STOPware has been around a long time. We started in 1997, and we were really the pioneers to this space. There wasn't visitor management products available back then. People were using logbooks and signing in that way. So we did pioneer the space back then, and I'll let Phil introduce himself, and then we can kind of take it that next step to give you more info about the company and move forward.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
Thank you, Lee. Hi, this is Phil Mantia, VP of Sales for STOPware. I've been with STOPware since 2003 and been very active in visitor management sales and also development of new versions and new features, for end users. So there's a lot of information we can share in terms of where we were 20 years ago and how we saw visitor management being implemented at customer sites, and even talk about some of the trends that we're seeing today.
Yeah, why don't we do that? And before we jump into sort of today and where the trends are going. So if you look back at the history sort of electronic access control, we've been actually documenting it, and it comes back to like 1973 and goes. So visitor management, if we say it started in 1997, what kicked it off, or where did the idea come from? What was, the impetus of taking those log files, making them digital? What problem was it trying to solve? If you give me a little bit of history, I think people would like to hear, like, where you located, and give us that origin story, if you would.
Yeah, I'll start, Phil. Oh,
okay, great.
Sorry. So the company was founded by Paul Tushern. He was an electrical contractor in Silicon Valley, going into all sorts of secure sites that were working on, new computer trends and software and hardware and chip making and things along those lines. He was going into these corporations to do electrical contracting work and seeing that nobody was checking his ID. Nobody was, looking to check him in. They weren't even using logbooks, and he felt that was crazy because these were secure sites, and the fact that he could just kind of walk in and get on site with nothing, he kind of came up with the idea of, these people really need something. So while he was running his contracting business, he started a software company and hired a engineer and developed the product and started rolling it out and gaining clients and momentum, and eventually sold his electrical company and started doing this full time.
He's still with the business?
He's the CEO of the company and still involved to this day.
Very cool.
So we did go through an acquisition at one point. We were bought by Brady Corporation, and then we repurchased the company back some years later when they had a change or divestment in the direction that they wanted to go with the company versus what we wanted to do. So now we are privately held again.
Oh,
And
very
visitor management is the only thing we do. So, it is our specialty. We don't, we integrate with access control, but we don't do access control. We integrate with, watch list services, but we don't procure those lists ourselves. We just do visitor management, and that is our sole focus. So we're proud of that. And, moving forward, we plan to stay that way.
Very nice. And okay, so that's good. And I guess as things have gone on and, the digital transformations have happened and more people have gotten involved, I mean, from the days, or do you still, is that use case still the main use case, or how has the business changed as times have changed and businesses have changed? Like, because you've got different people have gotten involved in it, everyone from like DocuSign to all sorts of companies. So like, where have you taken the business, or where have you stayed and kept the business? How do you all view it?
So from my experience, I would say, the customers early on, they used visitor management as a very simple solution. It was really something, I think, initially just to move away from the logbooks. Start keeping audits in an electronic database and printing electronic badges for visitors. And then it's really evolved over the years to be more of a safety and security product. So as we see kind of the evolution, it could be things like maybe they wanted to cross-reference that visitor signing in to make sure that they weren't on a watch list, or, they were an approved person to be coming in. We saw a lot of integrations with third-party systems, linking with databases, customer databases for real-time information on the host and where that person was supposed to go for the day. Integration with access control system to only allow that visitor to certain locations within the facility where they're approved to go. And ultimately for the audit trail, just having that time stamp, date stamp, location stamp, all that information recorded. But now additionally, when you talk about things like NDA agreements, we did see a lot of focus around Sarbanes-Oxley, where, a lot of this information was going to be required early on. Government issued ID needed to be recorded. We needed people to sign a non-disclosure agreement that, if they see anything, they're not going to talk about it. Maybe answer, some specific questions and go through some type of check just to make sure that they're allowed on site.
Yeah.
So today, I would say overall, visitor management in our experience is being used more as a security product than it was early on. Yeah. And specifically something that's could really complement the access control system being used.
Right. And as now with COVID, that's impacted the business, and you're seeing this sort of move to where everybody's a visitor to the building now versus just the visitors themselves. I mean, how do you view that change are you seeing the impacts of that? Like, are you getting the same pressures now of, health attestation, ways that you communicate, fever cameras? Like, how do you see that impacting your business and your customers' business? Or are you staying, in that lane of like, we'll work with other people, but this is where we focus?
So the pandemic. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Deb.
It's okay. I'll start, and then you can add more to it. So as everything started happening with COVID, obviously we knew we had to jump on board and help out and figure out how, we're really the first line of defense, when a visitor comes to a building. So we knew that our product needed to help our users to meet COVID requirements. For a bit, nothing was happening because nobody could have a visitor. But then it was, okay, there's going to be restrictions and limits on the number of visitors that can come in. So, we have been continually adding, and our development has been COVID related. We have health attestations for visitors. We have health attestations for employees tied to their access control system that can not turn their cards on. So they'd be deactivated at midnight, and the employee's access card won't be activated until they take the health attestation survey. We have integrated temperature detection devices that automatically input into Passage Point. We've added health screening questions that can be asked to visitors upon arrival. There's a lot of new features that have just recently been added in the last 6 months, since the pandemic happened, to make sure that we grow with our customers and meet their needs. So, Phil, go ahead and add what you'd like.
So that was great. I mean, I would think some other things that we're dealing with now that we haven't seen before is the concept of pre-screening visitors outside of the facility. So typically the things we were talking about a few minutes ago, that all happened when the visitor showed up on site. But now you might want to know if the person has a cough or if they travel before they even show up before their visit. So that is a big trend that we've seen in features that we've added. And even some simple things like occupancy. How many people are allowed in the conference room at once? How many people can be in a host office? So, these are all things that we had to incorporate. They were really new requirements seen in all industries across the board.
Yeah, it's funny how, like you're saying, it used to be like once the person got there, the process started. Now it's the lobby is way beyond like the front door on that end. I guess of that, as people that have been doing this a long time, and have seen sort of trends and ebbs and flows of the business of how things change. Of these things, do you think like some of these will be fads that will go away, or which ones do you think will actually stick?
So what I'm hearing from customers, I think some of the things like the pre-screening and additional information for visitors for contact tracing purposes, I think we're going to see those things stay in place. We do hear some customers planning on moving away from maybe some of the temperature recording requirements that they have today once the pandemic is over. But I think in general, this has really changed visitor management in all industries. Not necessarily the information that you're capturing on the person, but I think there's more awareness now on the visitor side that there is a workflow, there is a process, there are steps to go through before you're going to be allowed into the facility. And because of the pandemic, it almost forced people to kind of follow these workflows. And, that is a trend that I expect to stay.
Debbie, any thoughts on your end too?
No, I'm right on board with that. The customers that I've been speaking with, it's almost like a barrier has been crossed. There were certain industries that, we're always like, oh, we don't want to ask for their phone number or gather too much information because of PII and whatever. I mean, everybody gives their phone number now. It's like, oh, contact tracing, some of that information, you're okay with somebody storing because if they're going to contact you if something happens, so it's almost making it easier and kind of taking that barrier down for some of these companies that always felt like, oh, this is a pain for my visitors. I'm not giving the best customer service. Now they're going, oh, I am giving the best customer service, and the visitors know it. So it kind of shifted the outlook on it.
It's funny how that works, right? The wellness side of this has moved it away from like a nice to have or compliance issue of sort of understanding to actually like core functionality, and then the workflows that have come from that, which has been, that's why I still firm believer that these systems, the ones like yours, are the ones that are sort of the interfaces to the physical spaces for people. And it's not just the visitors, it's everybody at this point, contractors, everyone involved. So it's it's interesting, especially for like companies that have been around since 1987. It's almost like a rebirth of opportunity, if you would. So it's from a horrible thing like a pandemic, but one of the byproducts of it is an awareness of tools that again, majority of our industry on the access control has been about keeping bad people out. To now where the entire use cases have gone way beyond that, and we need those dynamic edge devices being displays, the phones, the rest of it, and the workflows built around it to really be able to tackle that. So that's wonderful. And so as far as finding out more about your company, where's the best place for people to do that?
Go right to our website. It's www.stopware.com, or they can email Phil or I, or just sales@stopware.com, and we'll get that. So
wonderful. And the ideal customer for you is who?
So
Phil, you want to answer that?
Yeah. So, we work with all industries. So our predominant industries are going to be healthcare, government, commercial buildings, corporates, and also schools. That's a very unique market as well. So although we have one version that we always develop and build many features into, because it's so configurable, school has the ability to install our product and use it in a completely different way than, say, a government agency would. And, we find that part of visitor management is really important as well for a lot of our customers, because it's not just so much in your face security. It's actually security, but also providing a good visitor experience. So those are things that we focus on as well.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you two taking the time to introduce the company. It's exciting especially the pioneers of the industry. We don't celebrate enough the origins of where a lot of these things come from. And so getting your perspective on this, especially it's being introduced as a new thing to a lot of people, but you've all been doing it for quite a while. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do that and telling us your story, and then also what you view and the differences between yours compared to other people in the market. So thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
No problem.